And we're back. This is Arts Alive. I'm Linda Philippi. My guests in this segment are Julie Bacon, Peggy Gelbrich, and Lottie Smith. And they're here because they have been involved with quilters now at Gallery Players. And they're the ladies who made all the quilts that we see on stage and in the end, so we'll just dive right in and let you talk about that. So,
Great.
Peggy, why don't we start with you?
Great. Thank you for having us. We were part of a larger group of about 14 women that made the quilts that are the props for the play, the quilters. And then we also made 12-inch blocks of each pattern that went into a raffle quilt that the gallery is using as a raffle quilt to raise funds for a scholarship.
Perfect, okay. And you are a teacher of quilting.
I do. I teach quilt making. My website is Yellow House Quilter. And so I travel around the U.S. and teach as well as in local quilt shops, right?
And is that how you two ladies met Peggy?
That's
Okay.
right.
I met Lottie, and then Julie was involved in making the quilts with the other group. So I got to know Julie since we've been in this process. So.
Well, Lottie, how long have you been doing quilts?
You know, I've only been actually quilting for about 7 years, but I've sewn for a very, very long time. And I grew up with quilts. I grew up with the fat woolen quilts with wool quilt bats and flannel backs made out of men's garments. So I kind of have a semi-history with quilts.
Okay.
Longer history.
Sure. And how about you, Julie?
I've only been quilting for about 3 years. I made my first quilt when I found out my oldest daughter was having my first granddaughter.
Oh,
Does anyone have to make a quilt?
okay, that's exciting.
I did. I actually drew the lines on with a pencil and hand cut it, and thought after that I had to go get the cutting wheel and the cutting guides and everything. So really fun. And I think I'm on to my 5th quilt now. So I'm pretty much a novice.
But still, you're obviously, you kind of have the bug.
Yeah. yes. I've been sewing for as long as I can remember, back to early childhood. But as far as actual quilting, it's only been about 3 years.
Oh, that's interesting. You want to talk a little bit about how this project came together?
Well, I received an email that said there's a group getting together to plan the quilts for the quilters for the play. And I had seen it, about 15 years ago, and was so excited to be involved. And so Carolyn McCloskey, the director, we went to her home one evening, and there was I think there were 14 or so, 12 or 14 of us. She had laid out the patterns that were required for the play, because each pattern tells a story in the play. And so she had a sheet there, and we all signed up for which blocks we wanted to do. And then that kind of was what happened that night. And then in the interim, then they picked out the fabric. We came back at a time, I provided the pattern so that all the quilts would be a consistent size. And then we got back together and everybody picked the fabric they wanted to make their blocks out of. And so they made their blocks and then returned them to us. We added borders. A group of us added the borders to them. And then Bobby Barbaria of the Quilted Hill, she did all of the machine quilting, did a beautiful job on the machine quilting. And then we did the binding, and then we delivered them to Carolyn at the play at the gallery. And then so they were ready to go.
So what kind of a timeline did you have for this project? A couple months?
December?
I think we started it kind of in the fall, late fall. And then the play opened, I believe February 22nd was opening. So there was a little bit of a time crunch in there.
Yeah, I think Janelle Denton told me she made a block.
She did.
She did.
Yeah,
And
that's
she helped with the...
She helped with the
Sashing, I
bordering, and yes, she did.
I mean, that's a play that when you see it, you realize that it truly is a labor of love, because all of these, I mean, I know that you ladies all donated your time, obviously, even if the materials were donated, that's still hours and hours and hours to do that. And yeah, I'm not sure how the raffle sales are going, but hopefully it will.
Right, I hope so.
Yeah, I saw the play opening night, so it seemed like it was, it was pretty popular and well received at that point.
I think so, yeah.
So you were mentioning that you use quilting software.
I use a program called Electric Quilt, and it's a quilt software program that is, you can do anything. You are just limited by your own creativity. And so it comes with lots of blocks that are on there, so you pick a size. And
it's kind of like a recipe conversion.
Yes.
I mean, you could say I need it to fit a queen bed, or I need it to fit a baby crib, or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it was helpful in planning all the quilts so they were all the
Sure.
consistent size, right?
Yeah,
Right.
because you needed them, and the proportion to be the same too. You don't want them to be so big on a small piece of fabric that it
Right.
looks funny.
Right.
Oh, that's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
modern
Yeah.
technology applied to a really, really old art.
Oh,
Exactly.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true. I think of the pioneer ladies in the story, the kind of quilts that they made with scissors and pencils, and and we have such wonderful tools, and modern technology is amazing.
You know, and they probably did so many just patchwork because, I mean, with
Exactly.
time,
Oh,
being so pressed for time all the time, and maybe, sort of inadequate lighting half the time as well.
Right.
You have to do what you can when you can do it, when you can grab the
right.
time.
Yeah.
They also saved every tiny little scrap that they had,
Of course.
and created stunningly beautiful quilts. It was just
Exactly.
Yeah, my grandma made quilts, and all my mom and all of her sisters sewed. So everybody sent the clothes, all the garment scraps to grandma, and then we'd get the quilts and be like, "Oh, that's Julie's dress. Oh, that's Jeff's pajamas." And we'd see our clothes and the quilts, and that's really fun. I mean, that's great.
It's fun.
That's
That's
part
a-
of it. Yeah.
That's a way to pass the family history
Oh, right.
for sure.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those tails that are woven with the threads.
I mean, it's fabulous when you go someplace like Boersma's and you see all the crisp, clean fabrics. You think everything could match just perfectly, but there's not really the same history as
Right.
the old-fashioned quilts necessarily.
Made out of
Yeah.
clothes
Yeah.
and scraps. And,
Yeah, flour sacks.
Right.
Like I
flower
think,
sacks.
I think of in the play when the man buys his daughter all that red. And I think, oh my God, you guys are gonna have pink underwear for years. It's gonna
That's right.
run. You know how that
That's
happens.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is like one of the favorite patterns you've ever done?
Oh, golly, I don't know if I have a favorite pattern. It's fun for me to piece with just scraps. I go to my scrap bin and pull them out and just start sewing them together. And they take shape. I mean, something comes from that when you do it that way. It's not organized. It's not any one size, but it comes out that way. And I'm reading a book about quilting in the South. And one of the things it talks about is a quilt was a woman's slate. Most of them did not attend school, were not encouraged to learn to read and write. So when they did learn those skills from other women over the quilt at a quilting bee, they would stitch those into their quilts. So little phrases and names and dates became part of their quilts, and I thought, oh, what a tribute! And then it showed in this book, it showed pictures of quilts with phrases and little stories written around the images, and I thought we've gotten away from that in making them so perfectly beautiful. We've gotten away from that personal touch to it, but they really are a documentary of a woman's life.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
So, and I don't know that I have a favorite pattern. They're all fun. They're challenging in different ways.
Yeah. So do you always try to do something new?
I do. To me, it's not fun to make the same pattern over and over and over. I tend to get bored, but new challenge. When we signed up, I have to laugh. Peggy said, there were 16 blocks and everybody signed up. Well, by the time I got up to sign up, there was one block left.
Which one was it?
It was the baby blocks, and nobody wanted it.
Oh,
because
this
it's
one.
Full of Y seams, which are
What's a Y seam mean?
where it's not square, but there's an angle
But
to
they
it.
have to come together, so you can't cheat.
It's a little trickier
Yeah.
so anyway, I ended up with that one.
She
which-
did a beautiful job.
You did a beautiful job. And
It
you
took
know what?
time. It took time.
But it's very visually arresting
Yeah.
from the stage. I mean, it's hard to tell really up close, but when you see it from a distance, it looks great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I had to laugh at myself. It's like so much for
Geez.
being polite.
Yeah.
It's all
Oh, because you were waiting for the other ladies. You didn't want to be like,
I didn't want to elbow my
Got
way.
it.
It didn't occur to
we're
me.
not
that-
it's a rugby scrum. I get it. Okay, and what about you? Was this your choice?
This, I did the Tree of Life, and it wasn't my choice. I got involved through coworkers,
Oh, that's right.
and one girl unfortunately wasn't able to do her square, and she contacted me and said, "Would you like it?" So that's what I got, was the Tree of Life.
You really did get to choose.
And I really enjoyed it. Actually, there's no Y squares, no Y lines there. It's But I like it. I like the theory behind it, and it kind of brought the whole play, kind of came together.
Right,
This is the
absolutely.
last scene.
Yeah.
And when she carries it, and it's just a fun one to do.
Interesting.
Right.
So, what do you see yourselves collaborating on any projects in the future?
It would be fun to do something
It sure
like
would.
that.
It sure would.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like people are really responding well. At least the audiences from Quilters are responding well. I don't know if a lot of other people even know that the raffle is available. But I mean, it's you see quilts for different kinds of things. AIDS or cancer, or different kinds of, as well as
Right.
happy occasions for babies and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, quilters tend to spend a lot of time putting together quilts that are donated for various causes.
Right.
So there are a lot of groups of women who get together regularly and quilt on those quilts that are donated to hospitals and care homes and
Sure.
and people who need a quilt. So,
Well, I mean, because that's kind of the whole idea of quilting is that it's communal.
yeah.
And I would think it's maybe not, it kind of misses the point just a little bit if you're home alone quilting all by yourself,
Right.
Watching television, as opposed to sitting around with a bunch of other women talking and sharing stories and, that whole thing.
That's
Yeah.
kind of where it came from, and that feels good to do that and
Yeah.
to share. And,
We got
yeah.
together, a group of us, to put together the quilt that's being raffled. We had the 12-inch blocks, and everybody was running out of time, so it's like, do you need some help? So one Friday, we all got together, and we sewed and made some extra blocks and
Yeah.
put it together. And
That must have been fun, though.
It was.
It was.
Did
It
anybody
was.
take pictures, or was everybody too busy sewing?
I
We
think
were
just
sewing.
sewing. Yeah. We had it was great though. The four of us
Yeah.
worked on it and got it all
Yeah.
done, and
Yeah.
because we were running out of time.
Well, you think, oh, well, then all we'll have to do is put the borders on and da-da-da, and then all we'll have to do is get it to the quilter. Oy vey.
Yeah.
I mean, just putting the borders on takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that this is a project with hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
1,000 maybe.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
But a lot of love. I mean,
Of
it was
course.
really
Oh,
a
yeah.
fun thing to be involved in and to participate in, and then especially fun to go. I've been opening night, and then I'm going again next week. So especially fun to go there and see them, actually
Oh,
see
yeah.
them.
And what's really great? I mean, obviously this was well planned, but the way that in the show it does kind of mirror, the idea that it's from the girls' clothes and what they're wearing. So you see the material repeated in the quilts, and I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It adds a cohesiveness.
Yeah.
Right. It was great. It was a great opportunity.
Yeah. Purchasing fabric back when was a whole lot different than it is now.
Oh,
There
for
wasn't, Boersman's was not.
Yeah, exactly. Nor was there anything on, we'll just go to the web. FedEx will deliver it out here on the prairie somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They were lucky when they got new fabric for their new Sunday dress. And many women, from what I've read, many women had 3 dresses. They had one to work around the house and the garden. They had a little bit better one to wear for,
Shopping or something, yeah.
And then they had their Sunday dress. And as that bottom one wore out, everything shifted down, and they got a new Sunday dress.
Well, when I first moved to McMinnville, we bought a house that was built in 1910. And the closets will attest to 3 dresses. Yes, there's enough room for 3 dresses in the closet and maybe a bathrobe. And you think,
Exactly.
okay, no walk-in closet. I mean, that concept would have been so foreign to them.
Oh,
sure.
right.
So just the idea that you're going to, make do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an amazing thing to see. I'm really glad that you came on the show
Thanks
and we
for
got a
having
chance to
us.
talk to you. And so we've got, I guess, by the time this segment airs, it'll be the last night of Quilters.
Oh, yeah.
So if anybody hasn't seen it and wants to run over there tonight, this is your last chance. It's a wonderful show, though, a really wonderful
it
show.
is.
And I'm so glad that you had an opportunity to come together over this. So
Yeah.
thank you very
it's
much for
fun.
being here.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us.
Thank you.
Fun.